Welcome. In this video, I'm going to show us how to perform different kinds of formatting, right? Where we are going to use some things like icon to know where our sales are. We're also going to use other forms of formatting like color gradient, right? And then we have, in today's video, we are going to learn how to perform conditional formatting. Now, just look at our data set. Our data set is a sales record, right? So sales trend for a period of 1 month, exactly 30 days. So from the 1st of February to 3rd of March, right? So pretty recent, 2025. Now, these are sales that we made in different stores within the United States. You can see Phoenix, Philadelphia, New York, San Diego, Dallas, Chicago, Houston, San Antonio, right? So these are different cities and we made sales. Now, assume that you are a manager and you need to make a decision based on these sales. What will you do, right? How will you arrive at some analysis that will help you come out with trends and patterns? So, of course, we know that a trend chart will be able to give us a sales trend, but if we want to be more precise, I will suggest that we go to conditional formatting. So how does it work? Let's see how conditional formatting works, right? As managers, we're trying to see how to advise on where we need to intensify our marketing campaigns to make sure that we have as much sales as the other cities. That's the target I want us to assume, right, before we go into this. Now, look at what we're going to do now. We're going to check out the top 20 sales we've made. So we click, we highlight the values. And then we go to conditional formatting and we'll go to top bottom rules. Top 10 items, but we're going to select 20. So we're going to select the top 20 sales we made. And it's a positive thing, so I suggest we make it to be green. Right, so we say okay. Yeah, so you can see our top 20 came from earlier part of the month in New York. We had some good sales. And then in Dallas, in the middle of the month, towards the end of the month, we made more sales in San Antonio. Right, so you can see. Now let's also, while maintaining this, so let's look at the bottom 20 as well. Right, to do that, we see highlight, and we go to conditional formatting. This time around, instead of top 10 items, see the bottom 10 items. So we select bottom 10. Yeah, so it's a negative thing, so we leave it as red color, so I can say 20. Right, so beautiful. So you can see, now this is already giving us some trends and some patterns. You know, Houston has not been performing well. You know, yeah, so they have a lot of bottom sales, right? So we have these two. New York that had very high sales. Something must have happened towards the end of the month, and early this month, we're beginning to see some decline in sales. Right? So this is the beauty of conditional formatting. Let's see other ways we can explore this idea that can tell us story about almost everything we have. Right? So for now, we're just looking at the top and the bottom. So this time around, we need to clear what we have. So we say clear rules, and then we can say clear entire sheet. So now we don't have any rule set. Now, let's look at sales that are above average. So if you look at the sales, we have what we can call average. If you compute this, add up everything and divide it by the number of cities and also days, you're going to end up with the average, right? So, but in conditional formatting, we can also say, want to see sales that are above average. So to get sales above average, you come here, top bottom rule, this time around you see above average. You select it, right? A positive thing, so we can make it green. And we can as well go back again and say we want to look at sales that are below average. So we have it, which is a negative thing. As far as we're concerned, we want to make sales above average, right? So you can see San Diego made good sales throughout the month. However, New York, there was decline, so something must have happened. You can see San Antonio, very poor performing, but towards the end, something happened. It now changed, right? So there is a change of story starting from the 24th, right, to the 3rd of March. You can see. So this is what conditional formatting does. So if you're looking at it at a high level, what managerial decisions can you make? For instance, we can investigate San Antonio and say, what's really happening? They're making sales now. That means something must have changed. Is it the management that was changed, right? Is it a policy or something that changed that is making these sales? So we implement this. And then for New York here, where we have significant decline in sales all of a sudden, and it kept persisting, we can say that something is going on wrong here, right? So we need to do something. We need to do some promotionals. We need to check out the managerial structure, right? Is there a change in the managerial structure? Or is there any other factor that is leading to this decline in sales? We can look at that. Now, for something like Phoenix here, where we have all through the year below average sales, as well as Chicago and Houston, it's a major concern. So we need to make some promotion. We change the criteria. Could it be that the population is not as high as these other places? That's why we're not making that amount of sales, right? So all these are high-level managerial decisions that we need to make. Now let's go deeper and see how we can explore more ways of performing conditional formatting, right? So for now, so we see clear our sheet. So we clear it and we highlight again. This time around, we're going to look at what we call data bars. So we have the data bars. If I go to conditional formatting, I can see I want to see data bars. So a color of choice, you can choose any color of choice, and then you have your data bars, right? So let me just select one of these. So you can see, look at this data bar. This tab bar helps you to know where a sale is when you are looking at a particular element at a time. For instance, randomly, what happened in Phoenix on the 15th? Then I'll go to 15th. Yes, so look at this bar. It's close to average because the average should be in the middle, but there is room for improvement. Okay, what happened in New York on the 1st? You can see very high because the bar is very long. You can see compared to the space it has. So we've made sales that is significantly more than the average. So all the places we had sales below average, you can see like Houston on the 1st is below average. You can see clearly we have it at this point very low, and we can clearly see that the data bar is another way of expressing the same thing. So when you're looking at sales on a particular day in a particular location, you just look at it only without even looking at others. You just know what's happening. This is above average sale. Right? What I'm clicking here on specifically the 19th of February in which city? San Diego is above average sale. Right? Now let's look at some more. Now clear our rules, we clear the entire sheet, we highlight again. This time around, we'll be looking at multiple colors at once, right? So we're going to look at the color scale. Now, if you select here, you can see the color scale. There are different colors. The common one is what we call the traffic light, right? Traffic color, which is green, yellow, and red, right? So green means go, right? High sales will be represented as green, and then we have red where the performance is low, and yellow is somewhere in the middle. You can see what we have here. Now, what will you say about the sales here? The sales here, which corresponds to the 15th, and particularly for Houston, was poor because it's reddish in color. How about this? On the 3rd, in Philadelphia, the sales was average. That's why it's yellowish. You can see that Phoenix somewhere, close to average, but reddish. And then we have New York here, good sales, greenish. San Diego here, greenish all through, right? Shows consistent performance. Right? So we can see how easy we can do that. Now let's look at how we can adjust this into some other format. So I'll clear this, and then we highlight again. This time around, we'll go to conditional formatting and we select a different scale. So I'll just flash through them for us to see. For instance, you can decide to go green and red, only 2 colors. So it shows us where the performance is low, where you see is white is somewhere in the middle. So you can see, so it's either on the negative aspect of the sales or on the positive aspect of the sales. We have the inverse too, where high values have a negative connotation. You can use the reverse. So red is for high values and then green is for lower values. For instance, if you are looking at death rate or something in your data set, you can decide to say red should be high, right? So high death rate is not a desirable thing. But for sales, we want to make sales. We want to make profit. We want to make sales. So we choose the green. There are other options like the blue, cool, warm formatting. So let me select it again. You can see blue is cool. Everything is fine. Red, not so beautiful. So we have the color saturation where the deeper the color, the better, right? So if you see this, we're just saying that high sales has deeper color. So anywhere you are, you just select, the color is light, the sales is low, and then this is deeper color means that the sales is high relatively, right? Always remember that everything that we're doing is relative to other data that we have here, right? So if we have sales that are high consistently everywhere, and then even though what we have here is 16,000, which is considered as high currently, in relation to other sales that we have, it might change color, right? Because if there is a very significant change somewhere, it can affect the outcome of the formatting that we have, right? So just keep it simple and just have an understanding that what we're looking at is just relative to the data set that we have here, right? So the next thing I want to show is something interesting again. Let's see how we can use icons, right? So let me clear the rules. We clear the entire sheet. We select the sheet again. And this time around, we're going to use icons. Can you see these 3 arrows? Here we have 3 arrows. These 3 arrows showing us green, yellow, and red. The arrow pointing up, sideways, and then down. So let me expand this so that we can see our figures well. So what do you think about this? This is a direct indicator of where the sales is, right? For instance, we have a new staff that has been posted to New York on the 6th. What do we see about his performance? Okay, this staff was in New York. Wow, he had a high sales. But he was later transferred to Dallas, right? And he resumed Dallas on the 14th. So let's look at 14th. Wow, he has a high sales. So if we have that track record of that person, we can see that he's been performing well wherever he has been posted. So we can be able to attribute high sales to that individual, right? Because it shows that wherever he has been, the sales have been high, right? So there are other factors to look at. But for now, anywhere we see yellow is somewhere in the middle. Anywhere we see red is somewhere below average, right? So poor performance. And then the green shows high performance in sales. Now let's look at different variants of these icons. So I'll select this again. This time around, I will clear my rule, and then we'll go to icons. We can see the different variations, right? Meaning the same thing. The one that has 4 arrows, you can see that either totally down, which is red, but the yellow is into 2, right? Above average or below average, but somewhere in the middle, and then the red clearly shows that it's down. We have 5 arrows. We can see the arrow is flat when we are very close to the average, and then when it goes up, above average and below average and all that. So all these are various icons that we can choose to perform our conditional formatting. Like different things, but different icons, but they all try to point at the same thing, right? High, low, and average. We have these which are like data bars here, ratings. You can rate the sales, where the star, you can see the star. If the star is complete, that means it's rated high performance. And then when we have almost empty, the performance is low. You can see different icons, so whichever is convenient for us, you can make use of, right? To keep it simple, I'll just select this and leave it there. Now, finally, let me show you how we can customize our formatting. We can change the rule of formatting, not just high. We can use specific values to target our conditional formatting. Let me clear this and show us. So we can clear our rules, so clear in entire sheet. And let me just scroll up so that we can see the cities. Now, let me show you what I'm talking about. We can say new rule. We are trying to create a new rule. First, format all sales based on their values, right? So, for instance, I can say, well, I want to use two colors. And this color, the low values should be now my choice. I'm going to use, let's say, this color. And the high values are going to be, let's say, this color, right? Looks odd, right? But then it creates a gradient on the spectrum. If I put OK, you can see, right? So it's not available by default, but it allows us to customize our looks based on the rules, right? So let me show us another thing we can do. So let's clear the formatting, clear the entire sheet. Now let's see another thing we can do. We can specify the values in terms of range, right? So if we go to conditional formatting, we go to new rule. This time around, we're going to select format only cell that contains something, right? So cell value is between, we can specify values. I can say $12,000 and $15,000. So we have this, and then we can go and format, click format. What do we want to see about that? We want them to be bolder, right? If we need a fill color, we select, we say we want them to be filled to, let's say, this color. And then we can just say OK, and we just say OK. You can see. So all the cells within the range I just defined are the ones we have here. They are bolder and have this color background that we set, right? I hope you enjoyed this video.